I don't know what do you put that food as, because they, as originally as they started, it was like the reason they're called Coney Islands is because they made the food that was served at Coney Island in New
At the
York,
amusement
which
park
was
in New
like,
York, right?
yeah, which was like vendor food. So like chicken strips, hot dogs, burgers, right?
Now, you were friends with Mex one,
Mhm.
rest in peace, and you had a huge respect for him. Who was he to you, and how did his passing affect you?
Oof.
I know I just threw a lot on you, my
Yeah.
bad.
No, no. Max started out as somebody who constantly criticized me. This is like B-Boy World Forum days. Everything I said, he would show up on a post and be like, nah, that's wrong. And I'm like, man, who is this guy? Like, man, like, I don't like this dude. He always just, I don't like being corrected. Like, I know what I'm talking about. But he was dropping truth. He was like, yo, don't call it this, call it that, blah, 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 stuff, moves, histories, just random things. So then randomly, I messaged him and I was like, yo, what's your problem? Like, like you always busting my balls on things, man. Like, let me live. And he's all like, well, if you're gonna be, he's like, I heard of you, and if you're gonna be out there leading, you need to be leading right. So I'm just trying to help you. Don't be don't get in your feelings about it. And I was like, damn, all right, well, my bad. I get it now. And then we messaged, talked stuff. He sent me tapes and stuff like that, and was sending me cool footage, like some underground stuff. I think he sent me the first Outbreak tape.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and so I was like, oh, dope. And then I was throwing this jam I threw called King Me, King Michigan. And he was like, what do you need? And he seen the flyer and he was like, hey, what do you need for this, man? And I was like, what do you mean? He was like, I'll send you a prize box and stuff like that. I was like, oh, dope. I'm like, well, I mean, want to come out? And he was like, yeah. And he came out with keys. He brought keys with him and stuff like that. And then he paid for his flight, hotel. He took it. I tried to offer to pay for stuff and everything. I paid for food. He was like, I got it. And then we just were friends since. And then he just was a mentor to me, man. Like after that, like he came into the scene, dropped knowledge, kicked it with us. It was huge, man. Like just our relationship was just awesome because I finally had somebody to go to, like as like a mentor, like that was like established and known, and I knew like how everything worked. So I was like, oh, okay. And then he was the one who kind of like taught me how do I put it? Like he was like, in order for you, because he was like, I was telling him like, damn man, I'm broke. And like after I threw the jam, he was like, what do you mean you're broke? And I was like, yeah, like I was like, I'm hustling up rent money and stuff like that because I had to spend rent money in order to throw the jam type thing.
And not to cut you off, man, but sometimes I think people underappreciate the promoters and organizers,
Yeah.
man. They don't understand that the risk that we take. They think like we're out here just making money hand over fist. And I'm just,
Yeah.
when I used to do events, I'm just like, that's not the case, sir.
Mhm.
Yeah, I wish it was, but it's just not.
Yeah.
But anyway, back to your
Yeah.
story.
So he was telling me, he was like, how do you, if you want to stay in this culture, how do you expect to stay in the culture without, you can't even sustain yourself? How are you going to sustain your mark in the culture? He's like, sustain yourself, whatever that, and that meant like getting my stuff together, my finances and everything, being a better adult about things, and then be able to sustain it on like a space and a promoter side of things, like, and sustain it. He's like, once you start sustaining things, then you'll start thriving. Once you start thriving, then you'll start providing for people. And it didn't dawn on me about the providing part until I got into a space when I was cutting people checks. And I was like, I see what he was talking about. So it was huge for me to like work through that because I went from a space where I was like when I opened up the academy, I had to sell, like at one point I had to sell the cars because I was like, I don't have the money to keep this going. It was struggling. And I was like, I gotta get this to sustain. And then I got it to sustain. And then I was able to buy a car. Then I was able to like pay for my son to get in like whatever he needed as far as like school stuff and everything every year. And it was like I was thriving. Like now I'm starting to build up furniture, like off of like what I've been earning and stuff like that. Like so I started thriving, and then as time went past that, then I started being able to provide, and it's like now opportunities, jobs, connections, providing support, like for like, again, back into like local politics, to like our people to get into city council positions and stuff like that. We were providing all, like I was able to provide, like the second I was able to write checks on the regular, like I looked at like our finances from the summer programming, and we were paying like 2,500 every week, like to all of our instructors, because we were doing so much work. And I was like, damn, we're providing that much support. Like it's not that I'm writing my stuff, it's that I'm able to pay out this, and this is amazing. We're providing for people. Like people, my homie bought a car because he made so much this summer because we got good contracts. Like, so Max influenced that aspect of it, and it was just like the growth. And
so you got to see all those stages that he laid out for you. First you do this, and then it gets to this, and then when it gets to that, you build it up to this, and you lived it. That's dope.
And then like when I went down there, I stayed with them. Me and one of my other shorties, Javi, went down there for 2 weeks, and we stayed with Max. And he just was training us. And like I remember the first day we got out, he was like, all right, try this, try that, try this. All right, y'all are whack.
Oh shit.
Like y'all are garbage. Like we got to start from square one. And he like literally was like, here's what you need to do. He's all like, and Vicious Vic is there with us, and Keebs and all these guys and stuff. And he's all like, I did the same conversation with them. And I was like, all right. But I was in a space where I understood where Max was coming from. My shorty was like, yo, fuck this guy. Like, cause after we were done with practice, he went up, we all, because we were sharing a room, and he was sleeping on the bed, I was sleeping on the floor, and he was all like, yo, fuck this guy. And I had to explain to him about everything, and he was like, all right. But he went on to be one of the strongest out of Michigan, man. Javi, arguably the strongest out of Michigan, power, because he stuck with that Mex method, we called it. And it was how he kind of trained us to drill. Like he just gave me that gem where it was just like, your whole breaking approach is going around things you can't do, go through it. And that means you got to break things down into minimal steps and the basics and this core foundations and stuff that sounds boring that you're going to do for a month straight at high number volumes. Eventually you'll go through it and you'll be stronger with that, as opposed to working around it, because we couldn't do things on our left as strong and stuff. And he was like, you should be able to, hit these 3 freezes strong on that side is strong on this side. And he explained, and then he's like, watch this, grab some footage of rocks, and shows us exactly what he's talking about. It's rocks, right? He's like, this is stuff that these guys do. This is all the stuff that the greats do. Keebs is breaking down like this. Mex is breaking this down to us, and then Keebs shows it in action. And it was just like, see, I've worked with these guys. And then it started making sense about how Mex why the squadron made sense and how they trained together and stuff like that. A lot of this stuff all started making sense. Like, and he was real big about like something that I took as far as like identity into village is Mex created a village. You had Fusic, you had Spen, you had the B-boy spot, you had squadron, right? Like that era was huge. All of that was huge impact. Like that was an international impact. Like, globally, like that impacted, like that whole thing that like he put together really impacted everybody. The B-boy spot, the clothes, the location, that checkerboard floor, Fusic, the squadron, like Spen's artwork, like all of that went everywhere. Like, and it was all like off of, and it wasn't, nobody looks at that as Mex's thing. It was his brainchild, essentially, of like him putting together his village, and then the village was able to succeed on their own. He never owned that, you know what I mean? And like, so it was like watching how that worked, and like, okay, how do I, like, that's something that I replicated, like in like what we have, like we have the squeeze station, which is like the smoothie spot, and so we're able to like connect with them. And then we have our artists, we have our, we have our own version of it essentially. And it's putting all of those elements of a village together in order for everyone to be able to support off of each other and springboard and connect back and forth and all of this. And there's so much like cohesion and creative like movement, like collectively with it, that I didn't realize, like, oh, that's why he put it together that way. And then you look at like, somebody like Vic, like that was mentored, like Max mentored him, Max trained him, you know what I mean? Like, and that guy went on to just like the Vic run, you know what I mean? That's what everybody talks. There wasn't a jam he didn't enter for like 2 years that he didn't win. Like it was insane. And it was high caliber stuff, like Undefeated and all that stuff, and BC1 and freestyle session. It was just everything he touched, he won. He was just, and even now he's still, at the top. But like Max engineered that, you know what I mean, in a sense and stuff. And so it was like, as we went down there, and was just like, I came back way better acclimated to battle when I came back from that in 2016, and then went forward with it. I was moving through the ranks and like nothing, at least for those 2 years. Like that I was training heavy. Everywhere I was going, we're not only able to make noise, but we're able to stay relevant in, like, I was able to place like when I wasn't placing. Like I made it to finals in Chicago. That never happened, but because I was training that way. So Mex had that huge impact on not only my academy, my whole other, like, just mental, but like also like on my breaking, you know. And it was like it was three things. It was dedication, consistency, and discipline. Staying consistently dedicated to your discipline. That was what he told me. And it was just like, and he said that in passing, like he said that so nonchalantly. Like he was just like, stay consistently dedicated to your discipline, whatever that is. And then I'm just like, what? And he's like, yeah, consistency, dedication, discipline. That's it. That's it. Just work on those things. Like, I still don't know if that was like, was he just talking shit?
Right.
Like,
was he just freestyling, or is that something,
or like, was that like, but I found out later, because he to U of M, he was big on what's his name from the Patriots. I never liked him. Quarterback.
Oh, Brady?
Brady, yeah. So Brady comes from U of M, but Tom Brady's dad wrote a book about coaching and how he took him from like some third string quarterback to, you know, one of the best, you know, in the NFL. And it was wild. And I was like, damn. And I remember picking up that book, and I'm like, oh, I see a lot of like what he was doing, because he was doing that with his son too. Like just the way that he was training him. Like Boogie was like, Daniel was amazing, like gifted already at soccer. And then Mex was training him. But it was beautiful to see, because you see so many times of those like soccer dads, football dads and stuff ruin it. The second Daniel didn't want to do it and was just like, I don't want to play. Mex would always say, like, do you want to play, or is this difficult and you want to run away from it? So he would have conversations, and Boogie was 4, I think, at the time, but he was able to communicate like it's hard and I do want to do it, but maybe just a little break by. Like he would just tell him a little bit, okay, we'll take a little break and then we'll come back. And it was just the most beautiful thing to see, because like I was like, man, that right there, that coaching, I learned how to teach just off of watching him parent so much better. Like when I came home and was teaching, it was like a whole other person was teaching. Everybody was like, man, this is great. Like, you know, I love the way you're talking, like the way that you're doing things. And it was just like, yeah, because I watched that work. Because then Boogie when played foosball or with the Nerf gun or something like that, and then grabbed it and then went back to he went back in the room, because Mex had like this room that was just like a soccer training room. Like, so he had like an extra room in his crib. He turned into like a soccer training room and stuff for his son. And so then his son went back up there and then looked over the railing and was like, hey, wow, I'm ready, you know, and everything. And then he went up there and did his thing. And it was just like, damn, like that's dope, you know? So it's like,
yeah, that is
all
dope.
These different things, like just from those 2 weeks, man, just being down there. And then I got to go to Disney World. That was crazy. Like Max didn't care for it, but Lito from Soul Lito from down there in Orlando, Soul Culture, he hit me up. Oh, you're in town? All right, bet. My mom's this huge general manager at Disney. I could get you passes, these gold passes. And I'm all like, I'm thinking my homie, you know, my shorty that came with me, Javi, you know, my homie, and it was like, yo, like, you want to go to Disney World? I think it's gonna be, I want to go there. She's like, oh my God, we're gonna go to Disney World.
Mickey Mouse.
Yeah, we were just like, yo, we were there.
Yo, that's so crazy.
You know, it was a great time, man, and everything. So that's like, you know, Mex's like influence on all of those things, and like the way that I've navigated, and just his method of integrity too, man. You know, like his level of integrity through all of this, like it's why he was why he was respected the way he was, you know, and still is, you know, is because of that integrity. Like it's like that legacy that he left was huge, man. So like, and that whole, like when you were saying about like, you know, like his impact on after he left, it's been huge, man. Like there was slow moving for me for a while. Like I just was like in this, I don't want to say dark space, where I just was lost. I was like, I don't know how I'm gonna navigate. Like that was who taught me. like, how do you go forward with this? Like, you know, like it was huge, man, you know, and it was like a big brother, like having all of these different instances, like where I'm like, damn, like I don't have anybody to reflect with now. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and it was wild because I had just come into like where the academy had secured like a partnership with a foundation for
Okay.
100,000 a year.
Wow.
So
So
we were
it's just
able,
starting to get rolling.
yeah, it was just, and it was space he didn't know about either, like with the grant stuff. So
Mm-hmm.
it was this weird, like it was like I got to talk to him in like the mentoring space inside of things. So when he left, it was just like, damn, now I don't know which way to navigate, which way to go. And it was wild because I'm not from some giant lineage of B-boy crew, didn't win a whole bunch of stuff to where he like why he reached out to me. He just was like, "Oh, this is dope. You're doing this. I'm gonna support it." It was just the intention was just because he seen something that he was like the one thing he did tell me, he was just like, "I see work ethic in you, and that's hard to find." He's like, "I find talent every day." He's like, "You know how many people come in here, the top talent in the world, but they don't want to work." You know, so it was like, damn.
That's dope, man. Now, the last thing I want to talk about, throughout the course of this conversation, we've been talking about a lot about voice, right?
I think we need to have more forums, more town halls, more spaces where people are able to vocalize these issues, local issues.
For more quality content from Beyond the Cypher with Illskillz, don't forget to press the like and subscribe buttons. Also, feel free to follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Beyond the Cypher. Let us know how we're doing down in the comment section, and to make sure you don't miss anything from the channel, smash that notification bell. We appreciate the love and support. Peace. Until the next episode.